Hello and welcome to the Vintage Championships round number 3. I'm Randy Buehler here with Chris Pakula, and we're going to be watching Reid Duke, the number 3 ranked player in the world, unquestionably the best player in the room, quite possibly the best player in the world.
Possibly.
He is taking on Richard and Mattiuzzo. They're both 2-0 so far, so things are going, and these are both playing crazy combo decks. Reid leads with the Gitaxian Probe. He's seen his opponent play Bazaar of Baghdad. So a lot of the time that would signal dredge.
Yeah, this is very funny, actually.
Nope, this is not a dredge deck. He's going to see Worldgorger Dragon, he's going to see 4 lands, he's going to see Force of Will. So this is a Worldgorger Dragon deck. This combo, I don't know, it's crazy. So it is fundamentally a reanimation deck. The idea is that you get a Necromancy or an Animate Dead or a Dance of the Dead. You get an enchantment reanimation spell. It has to be an enchantment. You get Worldgorger Dragon. Yeah, Reid is reading the Worldgorger Dragon right now. I'm sure he knows.
Reid may not know. He may not know about this deck.
I don't know. It's not the most popular deck, certainly, but it's been around for years and years. The idea is that you animate Worldgorger Dragon, and when Worldgorger Dragon comes into play, all your other permanents leave. So everything else you own is exiled. Well, here's the problem. One of those is an enchantment, which is the reason Worldgorger Dragon is in play. So when your Animate Dead or Necromancer or whatever leaves the play, well, that triggers Worldgorger Dragon to die. Well, when the Worldgorger Dragon dies, all your permanents come back, including the Animate Dead, which you use to get Worldgorger Dragon. So you've got a loop, and what happens is, every time through the loop, your stuff untaps. Like all your lands that were tapped, when they come back, they're untapped. So essentially what this combo does is make infinite mana.
And also allow you to draw your entire deck with Bazaar of Baghdad.
Bingo. So you have access to every card in your deck, and you have access to infinite mana. And you know what? When you have infinite mana and all your cards, it's not that hard to kill somebody.
No.
The specific kill engine he has is Una, which he can use to remove Reid's entire library from the game. So he can deck Reid that way. I think he can also change to... Una also makes 1 million creatures, so he can switch to... When he switches to reanimating Una, I think he can just take a turn and kill him. I mean, we'll see how that...
He also is playing Tinker for Blightsteel Colossus.
Right. I mean, so the kill is...
and Reid is playing... We should say
Reid
is just playing Old School Storm.
Right. This is Dark Rituals... building up to Tendrils of Agony, Dark Rituals, Yawgmoth's Will, Grim Tutor.
All the draw 7s, Wheel of Fortune, Windfall.
Yeah, so he's just trying to build up a hand where he goes off, and he plays 10 spells, and he plays Tendrils. And those are fun decks. Now, a lot of people nowadays take this deck in an Oath of Druids direction.
Right.
Like you play Oath of Druids so that you can Oath up a Grizzlebrand as just, you have these extra draw 7s in your deck. Reid, I don't think Reid's played a lot of Vintage lately.
No.
I was reading on Twitter that he just found out yesterday that he could borrow a set of power and had a ride. So here he is, playing not the most updated Storm list ever, but he's Reid Duke. He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah, so this game's interesting because he probably thought his opponent was on dredge, like you said, when he saw Bazaar of Baghdad.
Yeah.
But he is playing Gitaxian Probe, which is not a card that is nearly as common in Vintage as it is in
No,
Legacy.
and he's added that since. I mean, he added the 4 Gitaxian Probes. That was the one update he made to this, relatively old school Storm list. I like it. It seems good in the Storm deck.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's
great.
a Storm card. It makes your deck thinner. I mean, paying 2 life, just pay some life, you get a 56 card deck instead of a 60 card deck. That seems fine.
Interestingly,
Richard has Dark Confidant in this deck. So he's used Black Lotus to summon Bob Maher's invitational card, Dark Confidant.
Right.
And this is just going to allow him to... It's there for value. It's there because, you know what? It's good. What was your analogy for Dark Confidant?
Oh, so yeah, Dark Confidant I was saying earlier is sort of like you'll always... A lot of times you'll hear some of the best players in the world say something that sounds like hyperbole, where they... Like Wafa Tapa, Matt Costa said something along these lines, like Think Twice was like the best card in the old standard control deck. Which sounds a little ridiculous because Think Twice is so innocuous. So when you take the power shift from standard to Vintage into account, sometimes Dark Confidant feels like the Think Twice of Vintage. Like, it doesn't really advance your game plan because you're very rarely killing someone with a 2-power creature.
Right.
But it's really just getting you that incremental card advantage. Because really, Dark Confidant,
it's the Think Twice of Vintage.
Card advantage is pretty slow, Dark Confidant, right? Yeah. The first turn, all it does is replace itself. The next turn, you're only getting 1 card ahead. So it's not explosive. It really is kind of...
Oh, this is interesting. I don't think Richard has any idea what Reid's playing. He goes for Thoughtseize. So Bob gave him a Mystical Tutor. He's using the Mystical Tutor to go get a Thoughtseize. I mean, Reid has basically just shown him Duress, Probe, and some blue lands. So he could be playing a mana drain deck for all Richard knows. Okay,
Well,
now he's going to see what's up. Simian Spirit Guide, Tendrils of Agony, now he knows what's up. That is a terrible draw, though.
What Richard wants to do is he just wants to get them both down to nothing so that the Dark Confidant can really matter, right? Like,
Hilarious, yeah. This is going to be a Dark Confident beatdown game?
No, I doubt it. With the Bazaar in play and...
So he thought seizes away the Tendrils, which maybe? I'd have been tempted by a Mox there, honestly. But he takes the Tendrils. Okay,
well, you got to
fine.
remember that Richard has 4 Worldgorger Dragons and Una in his deck, and a Blightsteel Colossus, so he actually has a reasonable chance of hitting high casting cost spells off his Dark Confidant. He doesn't want to
randomly die to
He doesn't want to
Tendrils
lose
for 3.
to randomly die to Tendrils for
Mox
3.
Mox
Exactly.
Tendrils drain you for 3.
Exactly.
Uh-oh, I'm dead now. That's funny. No, you're right. I think Tendrils is correct for exactly that reason. All right, Reid cracks his fetch land. Yeah, Reid needs to draw 7. He needs
Dark
to draw
Confidant-
Wheel, Twister, anything along those lines.
Dark Confidant is actually a really interesting card in Vintage because it really you have to make big decisions about casting costs. Because in Vintage,
Sure.
there's a lot of strange cards that actually make high casting costs better. Chalice of the Void, Snuff Out is something you might want to play because you can actually kill a Lodestone Golem with 1 land because you can pay the alternate casting cost.
Oh, right.
Ingot Chewer is something people like to play.
I love it. Reid summons Simian Spirit Guide. You know your Storm deck has gone off the rails when you're playing a 2/2 for 3 mana, but you know what? Sometimes you got to do it. He's down to 12. He paid for 2 probes. He got hit by Dark Confidant. He needs to block. I don't think we've seen anybody block yet. It's round 3. We might see. I don't think we're going to see it. Bob's going to hang out. He's not interested in
Richard
attacking anymore.
might have to block at some point, but so I was saying
it.
like Ingot Chewer is another card that you really want to play because it kills an artifact, gets around Chalice of the Void.
Yeah, but it's a 5 mana card.
But really hurts the Dark Confidant.
All right,
Josh is a card.
Richard is back on the Bazaar Baghdad plan. He's gotten the Worldgorger Dragon into his graveyard. He just needs to find a reanimation spell. If he can come up with any, and he plays 2 Necromancy, 2 Dance of the Dead, 1 Animate Dead. I guess I'm a little bit surprised there's only 5. But any of those cards basically win him the game here.
We got to remember he has Demonic Tutor, Vampiric Tutor.
Of course. So, I mean, he's got 3-ish. He's got it somewhere between 5 and 10 outs right now that just win him the game on the spot. I guess the 2 mana. He needs Necromancy. Might not be good enough because I don't think he has the 3rd mana. But I mean, he's gotten the Worldgorger Dragon into the graveyard. He's gotten Bazaar Baghdad into play. His combo just needs the reanimation enchantment.
So Reid's opening hand really had nothing, right? I mean, he really was...
Yeah, it was a bunch of acceleration and no business. He had Gitaxian Probe, land, and accelerants.
Right.
So he's like, I'm on the draw. I get a draw phase. I get a probe draw. Turn 2's probably good enough. So he's basically counting on the top 3 cards to deliver up some gas.
What was the first blue card in his yard? Is that just a second probe?
I believe it's 2 probes.
Yeah, and this is an interesting...
Yeah, but he just drew gas. Speaking of gas,
Right.
I mean, I think it took longer than he wanted, and longer than most decks will give him. But Dark Ritual, Mox, and
Time Twister.
Here's the finish. He drew Time Twister.
So this game's a good example of the one kind of downside to Gitaxian Probe, where you're making a mulligan.
You don't know if your hand's good or not yet.
You're making a mulligan decision off.
I have a blank
probabilistic
card.
cards.
Yeah. All right. Well, this Twister, Does Mattiuzzo have any ability to interact at
So
instant speed?
he has 4 Force of Will.
He does run 4 Force of Will.
He does not have Mana Drain.
But he's got 4 Force of Will.
So
Reid is not. Reid's in good shape here. He drew the draw 7 that he needed. His Storm count, for what it's worth, is already at 4. Mox Ritual Twister. He just wants to keep going.
Yeah, it's a really good spot for Reid.
His only fear is the opponent's Force of Will, but this is the reason why Reid's deck plays 4 Duress, right?
Yeah, 4 Duress. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he doesn't have permission, but in a proactive deck like this, Duress is probably just better. It certainly doesn't require him to play the blue cards to force a will.
And remember, you can't mulligan your 7 off a Time Twister.
No, you get these 7. You're stuck with these 7. I did not see a Force of Will. That seems really good for Reid.
The Time Twister also gets the Worldgorger out of the graveyard.
Yes, it does. I mean, the Bazaar is still in place. We can put it back, but...
It just slows him down even a little.
I see Necropotence, so he can definitely keep going, but maybe next turn. Duress is exactly what he wants to lead with. Wow, the whole combo's there. There's Dance of the Dead and Worldgorger Dragon, so... Richard had the ability to win if he got to untap with that hand, but yeah, Dance of the Dead. It's got to be the right choice here. Right. Now, if Richard gets a turn, Bazaar can get the Gorger into the graveyard.
But Reid's
and draw
holding
3.
Time Walk, so...
Is he Time Walk Necropotence? And he's got floating black mana left from the ritual pre-twisters.
I
don't think he's...
I failed to keep track of how much.
I think 2, and he just spent 1 on duress. Is that Hercules?
Yeah, he's gonna get back.
So it essentially ups the storm count by 3, and
he also gets him an
extra black
which maybe
mana.
he needed.
Oh, is this Tendrils lethal? Oh, we're done.
Oh, yeah.
Never mind. Tendrils of Agony. Storm count's plenty high enough to just kill with the Tendrils. There you go. So that's how the Tendrils deck works. Play some Moxes. It's really not that hard to add up to 10 spells, and Richard had taken a little bit of damage, so...
Yeah, Tendrils is tough. You know, you get a lot more random Tendrils wins in Vintage because of things like Moxes.
Yeah, I just, instead of lands, I have these Moxes in my deck, so Mox, Ritual, all of a sudden the Storm count is already 5.
Right. You can definitely lose games where you're firmly in control, and that's why he took the Tendrils earlier with the Thoughtseize.
Right.
So sideboarding, it looks like Richard has 4 Leyline of the Void, which is pretty good against Reid's deck. I'm guessing. I don't know how.
It shuts down Yawgmoth's Will. These decks usually need a Yawgmoth's Will. Like Reid didn't need it there, but the typical Tendrils kill, Ritual, Mox, whatever. I use my tutor to get a Yawgmoth's Will. Oh, now the Yawgmoth's Will lets me replay the rituals. Maybe I have a Lotus or a Petal in my graveyard.
Does he also have a Cabal Ritual?
No, I don't think he's on Cabal Ritual.
I wouldn't think so either, but no, he does have one. He has one Cabal Ritual.
One Cabal Ritual, okay. Yeah, some of these decks will play as many as 4 Cabal
So Richard is doing, the other thing he's doing with his Dragon deck here is, which is very common, is he actually sideboards into a more typical blue control deck.
Interesting.
He has Tezzeret, Jace the Mind Sculptor,
the Time Vault
Mateia Key.
All in his sideboard. All
in his board. So he is able to, if he expects someone to bring in Graveyard Hate, he switches to that deck.
Sure.
He also has, he has Library of Alexandria in his sideboard, so he really...
Wow, he really can transform into control.
He really transforms into pure control. Really?
Yeah, the reason I think this Dragon deck has fallen out of popularity is the Graveyard Hate you're talking about. Because Dredge exists, everybody has at least 6 Graveyard cards devoted to hating on the Graveyard. Well, you know what? The reanimation strategy gets hit by all those same cards. Like, nobody cared about Worldgorger Dragon when they built those sideboards, but the splash damage from the Dredge Hate just wipes him out. So he's probably, he's just set up to transform. Now, against Reid's deck, though, this might be the one matchup where he doesn't need to transform. Because you know what Reid's anti-Dredge plan is? I'm faster.
No, Reid does have 4 Tormod scripts, though. So I don't know if he's going to bring them in. I think I saw him considering one, but I don't know what he decided.
Yeah, the Storm deck is the one deck in the format, the fast combo decks don't have to hate Dredge's Graveyard because they can just race it.
I would love to get a shot of Reid's sideboard because...
He's bringing in Pyroblast?
I would imagine he does have a Pyroblast and a Red Elemental Blast, another Thoughtseize. He has an Empty the Warrens, which he can bring in as an alternate win condition, but it looks like he took out...
He took out Tinker?
Did he take out Tinker? And Wheel of Fortune?
Yes.
So...
Why would he take out Tinker?
I don't understand. I've never played this deck.
I have. Close enough.
Does he have Burning Wish?
No, he's not. So a lot of these decks are Burning Wish variants where you have power, like even Yawgmoth's Will on the sideboard is a typical thing, but he is not the Burning Wish version.
So I don't
know why he takes out Tinker.
I would love to see his full sideboard and talk to him about it after, because I have no real intuition about...
Yeah, Tinker it's not like he runs Blightsteel Colossus, but Tinker goes and gets Memory Jar.
Right, this is
tinkering out the jar is really good in this
deck.
This
is the style of deck where you can't want to sideboard a lot, right?
Right.
These cards so I'm kind of... I don't know, this is really interesting. It's almost like he's decided to go a little more controlling. Don't worry about Wheel of Fortune because it's too symmetric and I'm going to win some other way.
You know what it is? Maybe it's stuff that helps his opponent discard. Like the Wheel and the Jar both let his opponent put cards in the graveyard, and his opponent's goal is to get Worldgorger Dragon in the graveyard.
That's interesting.
Maybe that's related.
Yeah, but it's really hard to stop him from doing that. He's got 4
when I think about
in his deck.
Granted, and when I think about this deck, if I'm resolving a jar or a wheel, I'm not planning to give you another turn.
Right.
I don't care what you're putting in your graveyard because I should be winning right now.
And whether or not Richard transformed, I doubt it because he probably thinks he needs to be faster.
Yeah, I would not transform. I don't think he can win the control fight.
Right.
But he can win the speed fight, especially on the play. Richard has engineered explosives.
I was wondering if he would bring in explosives just as like a mana killer. Just like keep Reid from being able to use.
I think I see the Time Vault as well, so he does seem to be. He's probably a Tezzeret deck now.
Time Vault's kind of a.
You're just going to bring him in.
Fast way to win.
It's
right?
a two-card I win combo. Because doesn't necessarily mean he's got the Jaces or the Tezzeret.
Right. Although I don't know. Once again, I'm not sure what he took out. It's kind of difficult to tell.
That sideboard looks to me like
he took the whole combo out.
Right. You're either sideboarding the 11 card package or not.
Right. But then he also has ley lines, so it almost is like turns into a 15 card package. Although he probably didn't bring in. He certainly didn't bring in Show and Tell because he probably has to worry about Gristlebrand. Because unless
fair. Well, does he know? Reid does not, in fact, have the Gristlebrand Oath package that a lot of these decks do.
Right.
Richard may.
He does have Dark Rituals and Cabal Rituals. Just cast Gristlebrand the old-fashioned way. I don't know if
it's a lot of mana.
It is a lot
like bargain is hard.
It's not as much mana as you think.
No, I look. Yawgmoth's bargain. You can get to 6. It is a lot harder to get to 8.
Yeah, I would love to see these. Maybe we'll be able to find out the exact ways they sideboarded after because there's a lot of moving pieces here and a lot of things that are kind of packages.
All right, Richard Mulligan draws up a new hand. I see Jace. Yeah, he's
first turn Jace. Is that Black Lotus? Is that
Black
Jace?
Lotus Jace?
He brought in the Gristlebrand.
Wow.
So, right. Oh wow.
Black Lotus.
There
Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Let me tell you, this is tough to beat. First turn Jace. I mean, Reid's deck is better at it than most vintage decks.
Yeah.
But man,
he's got Force of Will. Does he have a blue card? I don't know that he has a blue card to go with that Force. He does not.
He's really going to be at risk for one turn here.
Right.
So it does look like
maybe two.
He brought in the library, so he really is.
Yeah, he's a control player now. Gristlebrand doesn't do anything with his hand. That's going back on top. I don't think he has a reshuffler. Yeah. Oh, he's got the fetch land. He has a fetch land. Wow, puts Force of Will on top.
Force of Will.
Well, he doesn't want to get it to rest.
Oh, right.
It's not active without a blue card. That's actually a really smart play. He's expecting to get to rest, and he doesn't want to make the Force of Will vulnerable to duress because next turn he can draw it. He can Jace to Brainstorm and hopefully find the blue card he wants.
What does that?
What does Reid's deck hand do?
Reid has at least one Mox and a Time Twister. He has two Moxes and a Time Twister, so he could just go for Time Twister. Obviously not as good.
Does he have a duress? He does have a duress.
I expected him to duress first.
Yeah, and that is the plan. He'll take. What's the second card? Oh, it's Voltaic. Yeah, it's a new frame Voltaic.
Right. So that's not surprising me. There was no real reason for Reid to just go for Time Twister when his opponent's kind of down on cards.
Fair.
So Reid does have, I believe he boarded in the red blast and pyroblast, so he can remove a Jace from play.
You take Will here.
Well,
you're gonna take Key.
You take
Key and just will it back.
Probably
like there's a Black Lotus
Will,
in the graveyard. You take Will.
But unless Reid was thinking on winning, he thinks he might be able to Time Twister.
Does he have the ability to Time Twister
next turn?
Next turn. All right. Richard draws Force of Will. He's gonna reshuffle because he doesn't want to draw the Gristlebrand, which he knows is on top. This lets Jace see 3 fresh cards. He really wants one of them to be blue.
It's interesting looking at his deck list. He does not have a high blue spell count. I mean, it's definitely higher after sideboarding.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a blue deck. But, this is a transformational sideboard package.
I mean, Una's blue.
Sure.
Brainstorm and
his restricted cards are blue.
Intuition, but yeah, it's hitting a blue card is not a given.
Fair. Brainstorm. Survey says yes. Time Walk was the last one.
Wow, so now he's just gonna Time Walk. I don't think he's gonna.
I think he's got a fetch, so he puts 2 back and Time Walks. You don't hold the time. You don't hold the walk to pitch.
No, because Time Walk is just too good with Jace in play. It's hard not to Time Walk with an active Planeswalker.
Jace, right. It's better than the Blue Explorer here.
Yes.
Not just an Explorer.
So Reid, what does Reid have? Reid has Time Twister, Imperial Seal, which is a...
Did he not cast his Imperial Seal? He has Vampiric as well. He'll Vampiric end step. I would think. Yeah, he's going to Vampiric end step, set up, I don't know, Lotus or something? He wants something to get in play after the Twister.
He may go for another Duress, but now this is really going to mess him up.
I didn't see the Thoughtseize. So he's going to Vampiric Tutor. It doesn't mess him up that much. He's probably expecting to lose the Time Twister, so he's going to get a replacement draw 7.
Welcome to round
Wheels in the
three.
board.
So Reid did bring in all the Tormod scripts, which are now much less powerful.
Against,
Reid
yeah,
was,
against the transformational
Reid was
sideboard.
not aware of
Richard
the,
won sideboarding for sure.
Yeah. And
Richard took his graveyard-based combo out, and Reid brought his graveyard hate in.
Right, and this is
which
an example. I mean, he might still have some in because he has Gristlebrand in his hand. He's probably not planning on hard casting it, right?
It's show and tell, probably.
But the fact that this is where Reid, he can be the best player in the world, but if he doesn't play Vintage, he may not know that how common it is for this deck to sideboard into the control deck.
What did he get? I didn't see it. I don't know what Reid Vampiric Tutor for, sorry.
I missed it as well. So Reid may just be at an information disadvantage of the format where he had no idea that there was a chance that Richard wouldn't nearly care as much. I'm bringing in 4 Tormod script, which dilutes Reid's deck pretty significantly.
Right. All right, so Reid Vampiric Tutor's response to this Thoughtseize. We see Mox, Underground, Twister, and the card on the top is, I think, a land?
He's got to take Time Twister.
Yeah, he clearly takes Time Twister. I mean, he's disappointed about the... Oh, it's the Imperial Seal is the other card.
Right.
Clearly has to take Time Twister. And now you're expecting him to play a land and cast Time Walk?
I think I would Time Walk.
Yeah, I mean, Richard can either keep Time Walk as his blue card, he ships the turn.
Oh, because
he doesn't have a land.
He doesn't have a land.
Doesn't have a land anyway. Could have played Key there. 3 mana,
I think he just
and
thinks
the
he's gonna
card, Necropotence.
That's a good one.
Reid Vampiric for land.
No. Oh, he had Vampiric for Necropotence, right?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking he had the Necro but couldn't cast it.
Yeah, that's old school.
Are you sure you have the Necro but unable to cast it?
I believe so. No, he didn't have Necro. Because he didn't...
All right, well, whatever. Necropotence does not resolve because Richard kept the Force Will and kept the blue card.
I could be wrong that he had the Necro,
But now Richard is basically out of gas. He does have Jace, so I mean he's still winning, but
if I were Richard,
there's a winder.
If I were Richard, I would have thought season Necropotence over Time Twister, so...
Yeah, fair. Not, but he can't cast it. Reid definitely had the ability to cast Twister. All right, Richard is going to play his Voltaic. He's got 0 cards in his hand.
Why wouldn't he?
Because he's going to Fate Seal.
He's Fate Sealing. Man.
There's an Imperial Seal in Reid's hand. That Fate Seal beats Imperial Seal. Wow.
Yeah, but why? I don't know if it's really time to start Fate Sealing.
Well, they're in a top deck battle. You would have brainstormed?
I have to think about this.
It is now. So Imperial Seal, not the most common card. This is a Portal 3 Kingdoms card. It is the sorcery speed version of Vampiric Tutor.
Right.
So it is B, pay 2 life, search for anything, put it on top. But crucially, it's a sorcery. So you have to do it on your turn. Reid would love to just go get, another draw 7, just a card to keep going. But the problem is then Jace will just Fate Seal him.
Yep.
So the sorcery speed on Imperial Seal is really not doing him any favors against Jace. Mox Pearl off the top for Richard.
Yeah, I just don't see how he can Fate Seal. He's really trusting that...
Well, he's saying it's a top deck war. We're just going to top deck for a while, and I'm going to make sure your draws suck. All mine are unmolested.
Yeah, then the first time you have to put the card on bottom, then you're just living...
Yes, but he never has cards that go to the bottom of his library.
Of course, we also don't know how many win conditions he has in after boarding. Like, if he thinks he has... The most likely
is Jace's kill card?
If most likely the way he's going to win the game is with Jace anyway, then why not start early? But I just feel like my cards are so powerful in Vintage, like, especially with a fetch land.
Yeah, the fact that he has a fetch land makes Brainstorm seem a lot more attractive.
Plus, all he needs to do is find Time Vault and the game's over. Yes. I don't know.
And he's got a Pearl in his hand, which is relatively dead.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Reid is now like, wow, why did I side out Wheel of Fortune? But
right. Yeah, he just fetches, doesn't use the reshuffle, just gets a land. He's fitting land.
If you're wondering why Richard's winning this game, it was the Black Lotus turn 1 Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Turn 1 Jace the Mind Sculptor?
It is quite good, and it is...
Even in Vintage?
It's one of the most frustrating things to play against in Vintage, I would say.
Black Lotus Jace? Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Like, most decks have, like, main deck, I would say most decks have less outs to that
bizarre.
than Blightsteel almost. It's just hard to kill Jace.
Fair.
You can't balance it, although balance is kind of underplayed in Vintage. You can't...
Yes.
You can't lightning bolt if they...
You can almost always lightning bolt.
But a lot of people up it the first time because they know lightning bolt's so common. Man, I just don't have the guts to Fate Seal every turn here.
He drew Bazaar of Baghdad, by the way.
Oh,
So now he's also got to think.
That makes it easier. Now you do Fate Seal because you can see extra cards with Bazaar.
You can't keep them. It's draw 2, discard 3. Like if he Bazaars this turn, all 3 cards just go to the yard.
Well, next turn he can start Bazaaring.
Next turn, yes, he can start.
Or that's actually reason 2 use Jace once, I guess, too, so he can start Bazaaring now.
Right.
Yeah.
He's on the Fate Seal plan. Oh, with the Reid fetches. Reid's fetch lands beat the Fate Seal plan. Sort of. Well, if he leaves a card, then you fetch and shuffle.
I think that's what they just. Is that what they just did?
Yeah, he left the card, so Reid's reshuffling.
So Reid actually, if he slided out Memory Jar and Wheel of Fortune, and Necropotence and Time Twister in the yard, he doesn't have that many great draws, right?
I didn't actually see the jar in the sideboard. I just saw the Tinker.
But it'd be weird if he took out
the
Tinker
one in
left
the
in jar.
Agreed. I know he's got a. I'm sure he's got a bargain, right? Yawgmoth's bargain.
Yeah. He probably has
got
bargain.
Yawgmoth's Will.
I'm sure he has Yawgmoth's Will, of course. But it's certainly not compared to what it would have been, normally. With we know
even a Brainstorm or much less an Ancestral would also turn on the Imperial Seal. Right. If he can tutor and then draw a card. Oh, did he just come up with a way to draw this card after he tutors for it? He must have.
But relative to what it would be under normal conditions, his deck is somewhat depleted.
No, yeah, he went all in on the Graveyard Hate and really diluted his deck.
Is he getting Mind's Desire? Is that what that is?
Wow.
So, he can draw a card with the Gitaxian Probe here. That Imperial Seal's a lot better.
Oh, in the 4 Gitaxian Probe deck.
In the 4 Gitaxian Probe deck,
does make it a lot better.
Yeah.
You get Desire, right? Yeah, Desire's nice. He Gitaxian Probes. Now the Storm count's already 2. He's got a Mox in his hand. Storm count's 3. He's going to get to Desire for at least 4.
Yeah, this is why I just did not like this.
The Fate Seal plan?
The Fate Seal plan.
Yeah,
you have to
go find a way to win.
You're going to, I mean, you have a Voltaic Key in play. All you need is a Time Vault. The game's over.
Right. And it's hard if you can't even give your opponent Gitaxian Probe, it's a little tricky.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Gitaxian Probe that's the thing Reid top decked. He finally top decked a real spell. It was Gitaxian Probe. That turns on the Imperial Seal, and he is off to the races.
It's possible that Richard did not put together the Gitaxian Probe Imperial Seal play.
Sure.
He was thinking maybe Reid has a few outs to it, but the extra 4 is a huge deal.
Oh, did you have a Ritual too?
Yeah.
Awesome. So Dark Ritual, Mox. He's got the Spirit Guide if he needs it, but I don't think he needs it. Imperial Seal for 5, I believe. Mox,
5,
Ritual,
right.
Seal, Probe, Mind's Desire. So Mind's Desire lets him.
Is he going to shuffle for all of them?
I don't know.
That's always the big question.
Right.
But man,
Right. Shuffle your deck, reveal 1, play it for free. Storm.
I really would have not been Fate Sealing here.
I hear you. All right,
so
let's see if Reid gets out of this.
So people
That
don't
doesn't
know
help.
how
He's shuffling every time.
Mind's Desire works. Reid's going to get to play 5 cards for free here.
Well, that one's not super exciting. That one is not. One's borderline blank. It is a spell for Storm Count, but the graveyards turn out not to be relevant the way Richard sideboarded his deck. Lotus Petal, more mana. But yeah, Reid needs to hit some business, and he put some of it in the sideboard. Soul Ring.
I mean, there's like
One
I
more.
said, he's just
He diluted his deck.
way down on cards that do something.
What's it gonna be? Brainstorm.
So
that helps.
That does help. He already played a land. Did he play the Badlands this turn?
No, his land drop's available. Pretty sure. All right, you just lead with the Brainstorm here, right? Draws. Cards we can't see.
Ruby, Thoughtseize, Time Walk. So Time Walk is great, but he still needs the.
Time Walk doesn't.
But he knows what he's drawing. It's one of these 3 cards, so. Because he doesn't have a shuffler.
Isn't it a fetch land in the Mind's Desire?
Is it?
I believe the card at the top is a fetch
so
land.
he can shuffle. That's big.
I mean, it's a draw phase.
Right.
All he's doing is cycling Time Walk. That's not what you want to do with that card.
Spirit Guide only needs 7 turns here. Doesn't even outrace Jace.
All right, so he's resolving the Brainstorm. 2 cards are going back on top. Yeah, if he'd flipped a card drawer, he would have been happier. Even the tendrils would have been good enough here. I believe that the storm count's already plenty high enough.
Right.
If he could access the tendrils, he would win. He's got the fetch land off the Mind's Desire. Gets to play that, bracket for a land. Then he gets to play. He can play the Crypt. He can play the Petal. He can play the Soul Ring. He's got 1,000,000 mana, but he's fizzled essentially. Right. This is the combo deck. Oh, no lands.
No lands.
He got the reshuffle, but he gets no lands.
The reshuffle is more important than land at this point, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just doesn't have a lot of. I almost wonder, what could he have done with the Yawgmoth's Will instead of Mind's Desire?
Interesting.
Like, would Yawgmoth's Will have just been better?
Than Mind's Desire?
Yeah. Did you have Dark Ritual? Or did he... Yeah. Yeah, because Yawgmoth's Will could have cast Necropotence or Time Twist, right?
I think he was worried about his opponent having permission. Like, he didn't know that his opponent was out.
It just
I mean,
seemed
the
like
probe pulled him eventually, but he
just,
had to Imperial Steel before Gitaxian Probe.
Right, it just seemed that
So, I mean, he chose something that could win through
given the
a mana
threat,
drain.
the threat density of his deck, with Necropotence and Time Twister already in the yard, Wheel of Fortune in the sideboard, it just seems like the chance of fizzling was actually pretty high.
Yeah, but you're playing an opponent who's got Jace, who's choosing not to brainstorm with Jace. You've got to put your opponent on one counter. Like, he got Mind's Desire, which wins through a Force of Will. I mean, goes off through a Force of Will.
True.
I think it's a very reasonable line.
That must have been his thought
that's
process.
clear. I think
my opponent wouldn't be fate sealing me without one counter spell. So
yeah, I think that's right.
You're probably right.
It seems like a very reasonable line to me.
But
and I mean, Mind's Desire for 5 is pretty good.
But
Yawgmoth's Will is better.
But he would have won the game with Yawgmoth's Will, almost certainly, right?
We have yes.
Because
in retrospect, he could have won the game if he'd gotten Yawgmoth's Will. I mean, yeah. He would at least have Necro in play.
Exactly. Well, he had a Dark Ritual in his
There's
hand.
a Ritual in the graveyard.
So
he would have
Ritual
Necropotence in
hand,
play.
So he could have gone Ritual.
I think he would have Ritual in play and have a Twister. I think he can play Necro and Twister.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested. Maybe I'm missing something, but it seems like Yawgmoth's Will had more upside. But like you said, he's worried about the counter.
He wanted to be able to win through a counterspell.
There's Gristlebrand. Tormod's Crypt's in play, so...
Ancestral myself. Sapphire, Bazaar, and something blue.
Is that Thirst for
Knowledge, I think? Yeah, it's Thirst for Knowledge. Pretty good. But he's going to play the Sapphire. I would have kept that to discard the Thirst.
Yeah, I don't... What did he Fate Seal that turn already? Is that what I missed?
Yeah.
He attacked Jace, though, right?
Yes.
See, he doesn't really care about...
Jace, Time Vault. There we go.
So.
Ball game. Discards Divining Top. Untaps. Reid will concede instantly when he sees the vault, I'm sure.
I don't know.
Well, he might ask what the kill is.
Jace.
I mean, he sure. Yeah, Reid scoops him up. So Key untaps Time Vault. Time Vault gets an extra turn. Richard can take all the turns he needs to just kill him with Jace.
So do you suspect Reid will say, I can't afford to have these 4 Tormod's Crypts?
He'll definitely re-sideboard. I mean, he saw a totally different deck that game. His opponent is also going back to the sideboard, so at least...
I agree that he did see a totally different deck, but he still saw Gristlebrand, which kind of should throw him off a little.
The Gristlebrand smells like Reanimator.
Right, he's got to expect, if I still saw Gristlebrand, I would think my opponent still does have some component.
Fair.
Like I said, there's a chance Reid isn't familiar enough with the format to know about this deck, so he may not know exactly how it's built.
If you paid attention, by the way, Richard did not even bluff sideboard. He thumbed his 15 and then put it down without ever shuffling anything into his deck. So if Reid is paying attention to that, then he should know that Richard has the same.
It looks like he's taking out the Crypts. I mean, Vintage there's too many cards possible for someone, like a lot of times in Standard or in Modern or Legacy, you see a few cards and you start to piece together their deck list in your mind. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what this guy's playing, but I know
Oh,
what goes
now he
with
goes.
what.
Just went back and shuffled all 15 in.
But in Vintage, there's too many cards. I don't think Reid, if Reid doesn't already know about this deck, I don't think he can reverse engineer it on the fly and try to figure out what the 60 cards are. So
Fair.
so seeing the Gristlebrand might completely throw him off.
No, he had the creature in the sideboard, though. I think, though, forget about your opponent. You just fizzled because your deck
Yes, I totally
was
agree
diluted.
with you. I am shocked that he was willing to take out that many combo cards.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. Maybe he thought these 4 Tormod's Crypts, my opponent's not going to be able to play through these, so I have all the time in the world.
Yeah, he must
I'm
have.
not sure. It seemed very aggressive to me. I mean, even if I was going to bring in the 4 Tormod's Crypts, I'm really shocked that he would take out that many card draw spells.
How many did he take out? We saw the wheel and the tinker?
He had Wheel, he had Tinker, he had Windfall sideboarded out.
Oh, okay.
But Windfall, I guess, is not as good on the draw.
Right, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Windfall in this deck.
So
It's good on the play, it's bad on the draw.
right, so that makes sense. But yeah, he left himself with so few top decks in that game. So I think Reid took out the
He
Crypts.
took out at least some of the crypts, yes.
So
He definitely has a more explosive deck for game 3. $14 minutes left in the round, sounds like.
So-
And these guys don't tend to need a ton of turns.
all right, I mean they've been playing pretty slow, to be honest, given
Yeah,
that.
fair.
So. And yeah, I think we're definitely showing today how, vintage games are not this.
Yeah, you
No.
don't just shuffle up and,
And someone's dead
reveal
on
your
turn
first
3.
turn kill.
Yeah.
Lots of mana for Reid. I see
Mana
a
Vault,
Ring
Soul
and a
Ring.
Mana Vault. Does he have action? 2 fetch lands, Pyroblast.
He has a probe. Is that a
That's
Gitaxian
it?
probe again?
Oh, wait, this is the thing you were talking about. Like, he doesn't know if this hand's good or not. It depends what the probe card is.
Yeah. With
I
a
don't think we- I
Pyroblast,
don't-
I think you keep with a Pyroblast because you can.
It is
you
a
can
ton of
force-
action.
The idea that you can force through your first card drawer.
Right, yeah, I guess you're right.
I think you have to keep it.
I guess that's fair. All right, so he probes and he sees Force, Thoughtseize, Yawgmoth's Will, Academy. What's the blue card off the top of the screen?
I remember I saw it and then promptly forgot what it was. So this is
Wasn't that
interesting.
memorable?
So
You take
if
Force
Reid
Will,
has
right?
if Reid
Thoughtseize?
has Thoughtseize, does Reid have Thoughtseize in his deck or just Duress?
Just Duress.
He has Thoughtseize after boarding. Thoughtseizing the Mox Ruby here would actually be insane because it kept it just Academy draw.
Academy Mox.
But I don't think Reid has a Thoughtseize in his hand, and I don't even know if he would take that Gambit.
Brainstorm was the blue card.
Right. So
All right.
yeah, Richard would possibly be stuck without mana for multiple turns if Reid were able to take the Mox Ruby here. But it looks like it's not happening.
He's not going to play the Soul Ring and the Vault. DT off the top, Demonic Tutor. No black mana, though, for Richard.
And his only blue
there's
spell
the
is the Brainstorm.
Yep.
So he has to make a decision. He's probably not going to be able to Brainstorm main phase, which is fine for him, I think, because he needs to save the
blue card for
save
Force
the
of
blue
Will.
card for Force of Will.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he played a key. This looks fine. He'll probably Brainstorm end step if he doesn't have to Force a Will.
Yeah, I think it hurts to Brainstorm. Well, he might not Brainstorm end step because he really wants see the extra card. He has a lot of
without a
mana.
reshuffle?
Without
Yeah.
a reshuffle, he has Tolarian Academy, so it's like
He can
saving
Brainstorm
that
main phase.
saving
use
that
an
mana
extra
is
card
less important.
by that.
So I wouldn't Brainstorm EOT here.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think.
like the school of AJ Soccer, is it?
This is kind of I mean, it's obviously. It's a,
He has gone on
it's a
this
few
rant
things. One
many
where
times in
one
many
where he has
places.
no black mana if he gets Brainstorm locked. Two,
No, you're right.
he has a lot of excess blue mana.
Reid drew. Is that another probe?
Yeah, this is the probe into probe. I'm still not doing anything.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Richard just really doesn't want to get locked without black mana here.
So Reid fetches an underground. I mean, Reid has basically kept the draw that needs a business card. He's got
Right.
the Pyroblast to defend it. So we know Richard that Force of Will is going to run into a Pyroblast if Reid ever draws action. But all he's drawing is Gitaxian probes.
It'll be interesting to see if
You
Reid.
see, he cracked that fetch land just to thin the land out of his library before probe resolves.
So it'll be interesting to see if
Yeah. So now there's a Demonic Tutor that you didn't know about.
If Reid
Still
would-
the Thoughtseize, Force of Will.
if Reid would pyro the Brainstorm.
Oh, funny. Drew Petal off the probe. Do you hold Soul Ring Mana Vault here? I mean, he's trying to preserve Stormcast.
So he goes for the EOT.
What do you think?
And he did Pyro.
Yes.
So
interesting. He's trying to deny that black mana. Jace off the top, which
good.
1, 2, 3 needs 1 more mana. Cannot cast Jace, but it's a blue card for the Force of Will.
Yep. Ponder. Good draw for Reid.
Solid. He's probably hoping that Force of Will has been turned off. He doesn't know that Richard just top decked a blue card. But Richard's thinking about the Ponder.
Terrible tell from Richard.
Yeah,
there.
you can't think there.
You just should have said okay
Yeah.
very quickly. But it's hard. It's hard to do that. What was that?
Ancestral.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes.
So I think he's going to have to Force of Will this.
Yeah.
Well, no, but it's tough to lose the Jace when you're so close.
Yeah, he's 1 mana away from casting it.
No, he's still... Oh, yeah.
He's got 2 artifacts for the Academy.
Yeah, so being able to... Man, I actually probably wouldn't Force of Will Ancestral.
You'd let Ancestral resolve?
I think so. If the top card of your deck is a Mox or a land...
Well, Reid's going for the Ancestral. He's only given his opponent 1 draw phase since he saw that the hand was Force of Will, no blue card.
So
but
he's going to do it.
There was the blue card.
It's a tough call.
I agree. Don't know what the right answer is. I would force. I believe I would force there. Because you're also, like that 1 land, if it's a black land, well, it turns on DT, Yawgmoth's Will.
That's true. You could say I'm going to win anyway if I draw that land because I'm holding Demonic Tutor and Yawgmoth's Will.
Yeah. Now what? Reid is out of gas again. Probe found him Ponder, found him Ancestral, but do we know what the issue is, Rashad? I think they're having a conversation with a judge.
What was the card under? I guess we saw. Oh, I guess we know all the cards because he drew the other. Did he shuffle after the Ponder? I missed that.
No, he wanted to draw the Ancestral.
Well, right, he drew Ancestral off Ponder, but then did he shuffle after? So there's black mana. So this is huge.
Wow! Not only is it black mana,
it's like 2 mana.
It's an artifact, right? It makes the Academy now up to 3 as well.
Right. Now this was pretty sick.
Yeah, that's not good for Reid Duke fans.
I mean,
what do you do here? You Thoughtseize? Slow roll the DT.
So if he Demonic Tutors,
what would you get? Oh, you just Demonic Tutor for Time Vault and win the game.
Oh, he has Time Vault and
you Demonic Tutor for Time Vault. Game's over.
Yeah, game's over. Because he drew Jet, he can win this turn.
Yeah. 2 mana for the Vault, 1 to tap key and untap it.
Yeah, that's it. Reid Duke going down.
3 mana, Vault, key, kablam! There's the handshake.
I don't like the way Reid played the.
He sideboarded in the crypts. I think that it's kind of an easy trap to fall into in this format. You've got all this graveyard hate. You know there's these graveyard decks. You're playing against one of them.
Yeah, he really just diluted
I'm
his
sure.
deck.
Look, if Reid spent a week playtesting this format, I don't think he would have sideboarded that way. I'll grant you that.
And, we have the other match.
Awesome. Who's playing?
The other match is Brian DeMars.
Oh.
Grand Prix champion fairly recently. I forget which Grand Prix that was. It was one of the limited ones.
We saw a block.
And
not only is it a block, it's a block with a Grizzlebrand.
Brian DeMars against Aaron Horner. Aaron Horner, as you can see from the screen, is playing Merfolk.
Yeah.
But this is a powered Merfolk version, not what we were talking about earlier. He has Black Lotus, Mox Sapphire, Time Walk, Ancestral. The big thing here is he's a Null Rod deck. I don't know what game this is. Do we know what game this is? Brian DeMars is playing a...
Oath. It's Control-ish Oath? Yeah, Mana Drain Oath.
He told me he was playing a Control-ish Oath deck. Now, I don't know how similar this is to the Control Oath deck we saw in round 1. It's looking like he's playing Gaia's Blessing instead of Memory's Journey. Yeah. He has a Nature's Claim and an Ancient Grudge main deck. He has Blightsteel Colossus in his deck, which is...
So his creature set is 1 Grizzlebrand, 1 Blightsteel?
And people do sometimes do that, but he also has Tinker in his deck, which is a little bit unusual for Oath decks.
Yeah, it's just it's an instant win. Like, 2 and a blue win the game is pretty good. All right, he's activating Oath. Went through 1 Vampiric Tutor, and then Blightsteel Colossus came out. So he's now got a Grizzlebrand and a Blightsteel. He looks to be in pretty good shape here, right? I don't think I'm missing anything. Maybe there's a Null Rod off camera pinching his mana, but seems like Grizzlebrand could go on the attack.
Well, Well,
Oh, 2 oaths, he can activate the second oath, right? So he activates the second oath, and he reveals that there's no creatures left in his library, but there is a Gaia's Blessing.
Right.
So
So
he
he's
activated
chosen-
the second oath just because he wanted to reshuffle.
I'd be interested to talk to him about why he's chosen to go with the Gaia's Blessing route. Earlier, I talked about why the Memories Journey gives all these kind of interesting options. Blessing doesn't.
Right.
Um,
Well, this is the one Blessing gives you. If your
Yes.
graveyard is better than your deck and you're hoping to top deck,
yes.
let's just shuffle it up.
Yeah, so obviously we've come in the middle of this, and it looks like this match is...
Yeah, it looks like Brian is up a game. That's pretty late in the round. But yeah, if Brian's up a game, he's got Grizzlebrand. I would assume we're going to see an attack here. Does not look like he's activated Grizzlebrand's ability. Looks like Grizzlebrand came out last turn. He chose not to pay 7 to draw 7. He figured he can do that later.
Afraid he doesn't need it.
I can't resist. I get Grizzlebrand out, I want 7. Like,
Yeah.
I normally just draw 14 off the top.
So he just drew 7.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There's a
unfortunately
Black
we're not going to
Lotus,
see it.
there's
Oh
an
boy.
Ancestral.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
Thoughtseize, Brainstorm. Plenty of gas. You lead with the Thoughtseize, right?
Does it matter? Yeah, I would say I don't even think he drew... His cards were so good. He, was
He
happy-
stopped at 6.
Stopped at 6. Yeah, I don't need anything else, guys.
There's no black mana.
Another
yet.
interesting thing,
Unless it's off camera.
Brian is playing a Toxic Deluge in his sideboard, which is a card that got talked about quite a bit
nice.
yesterday.
He leads with the Ancestral and runs it into a Mental Misstep. He did not actually have any black mana, so I think that's why he didn't go Thoughtseize.
Well, he does have Black Lotus.
Well, he would have had to commit either Black
Right.
Lotus or an Underground.
Um,
Is he going to fight over the Misstep? He's going to Brainstorm his response to the Misstep. This way, if he finds, like, for example, a Misstep of his own, he can get his Ancestral to resolve.
So Aaron Horner is playing Daze, which is a card I'm not real sure on in Vintage. He has 4 Cavern Souls, a card we talked about earlier.
Sure. I mean, Days, you can catch somebody. You're just a lot less likely to catch them when there are these off-color Moxes running around. Like that Ruby and the Emerald are just sitting there to be colorless mana whenever Brian needs it.
But I mean, the fact is that he's playing a creature deck against an Oath deck. He cannot actually... He has Graph Digger's Cage, but after boarding, but he doesn't have a way to actually remove Oath of Druids from
Yeah, this
play.
is kind of the dream when you're an Oath player. You want to play in Vintage. You don't get to run into many creature decks. Most of the time, if you want to trigger your Oath in Vintage, you have to give them a creature.
Right, and the only downside
Forbidden
is
Orchard or
that
Swan Song is the
this
awesome
is
new
one of
card.
the few decks where if you Oath up Gristlebrand, you might not be able to block because of Island Walk. But this deck could...
Funny.
I mean, but this deck could potentially play a game where he doesn't really have islands in play because of Forbidden Orchard.
Sure.
But it's not... What is
that Toxic Deluge? I don't know what that is, so I'm thinking it might be Toxic
I don't know,
Deluge.
I think this is...
I've never seen the art for Toxic Deluge.
I think what this is really called is Overkill, but...
It's what card is it? It's Toxic Deluge?
So that Toxic Deluge is black
It's
and 2,
yeah,
pay
black-
X life.
Everybody gets -X. Kill all the merfolks. Means Aaron's going to get to Oath. Except no, he's going to fight. That looks like the last 2 cards in his hand were Force of Will and a blue
Yeah,
card.
the best thing that Aaron could really Oath up is he doesn't have a...
Another dork.
He doesn't have a Phyrexian Metamorph. He does have Phantasmal Images, which would probably be his best. He would have a line to win. Well, no, it wouldn't even win.
Blightsteel somehow.
If he could Phantasmal Image into Gristlebrand, draw 7, and then draw another image in a Time Walk. But given the board state,
Yeah, well,
that might be more likely than winning the regular way.
Sure.
All
All right, so Deluge resolves. I don't know why the Pearl went to the graveyard. Lotus went to the graveyard, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here.
Cleaning up the game state after the Force countered the Toxic Deluge.
But yeah, if I'm Aaron, I almost would rather have the odds of oathing up a Phantasmal Image versus what I'm facing here. Like how
I hear you.
does he win from this?
Yeah.
He doesn't.
He doesn't. He scoops him up and extends the hand.
Yeah, I don't really understand